Hey, what's up? I'm just popping in with a quick video, and then I wanted to start this one by just touching a little bit on an actual milestone that I've reached with the channel, but more so for learning purposes because the channel is really about learning, and I don't frequent any social media venue, like dialoguing or uploading venue. Or like socializing venue, unless there's actually an objective, like especially like a learning objective. And I actually don't. I'm comfortable in a lot of like social environments, like I can go to a social environment, like say a coffee shop, and enjoy myself, practice and write music, being my own company at a coffee shop, and then also engage people as individuals and as groups, from the standpoint of being solo, and I'm comfortable with that. But I still wouldn't even be in those settings unless it was like some form of objective, like availing myself of a scene to have inspiration to write music, or maybe just the privacy, or I'm sorry, the ability to sit down somewhere and have that time on hand, or like coming in and out somewhere on delivery. But I'm more so comfortable in nearly any social venue, so long as there's a purpose. But if the purpose was to socialize in itself, I already draw a lot of conflict anywhere I go in life, and it would probably come to a head, and be difficult to have the footing to sustain that if there hadn't been a purpose there. So I just meant to say this channel is for the purpose of learning, and that probably one of the only things that would be going for a person like myself in life, but also the channel, is just to be candid and open-minded and candid. And I think that would be the real value, if any. And then so on this channel, the different statements I made are a little bit outlandish and daring at different times, but also nuanced. And I just want to say that I'm not offering this with any more or less authority, or a potential information, than just an actual pet theory, like a well-reasoned, or even a spontaneous inspiration as a pet theory, that's based loosely on a lot of different sources I've been exposed to as a long time YouTube connoisseur. I would say that a lot of my life has been constituted by consuming information content on YouTube, usually with a learning purpose, similar to that. I don't engage things without a purpose. But so I have reached the point of 400 uploads on the channel, and there's a significant degree of views on the channel with that. Some of them is because YouTube actually made shorts out of some of my videos. It actually formatted them as shorts and presented them as shorts, so they have far and away more views, some of those shorts. And there's actually a little bit of redundancy, because I think I might have actually repeated one or two shorts, and then each of those repetitions and redundancies have like a multitude of views, and that actually be more of the lion's share of the views on the content. But if you take 400 views, and then the piecemeal views, like will do anywhere from 0 to 1 to 5 to 20 to 50 to 100, and then sometimes getting up to 140 views on the general videos, and it adds up to a lot. But it's not a lot of engagement for any particular video. But I just wanted to appreciate that actually might speak to the nature of the content. And one is that it's nuanced, and then it's a little bit bold and daring and just different. And so there's actually different ranges of success and traction in different things, including like artistry, or even you could say content creation is similar to artistry, and it might be a combination of intellectualism and I don't mean to say that in an entitled, pompous way, and also but just free form, free thought, and free form. And also I have some musical content on here, but so you would have like sometimes like you have different scales of traction for a venue. So like the YouTuber, but also social influencer and teacher, educator, RSD Tyler, Real Social Dynamics Tyler. He talks a lot about different scales of like business engagement. So one thing he said is that a lot of people don't appreciate that, like most time you'd be comfortable shopping like at a certain range of like either for clothing or food or whatnot, a certain range that you're comfortable with an expenditure. But it actually wouldn't take very much more, if any more, to actually go to a venue that would seem more upscale or have a different form of clientele or product. It wouldn't actually take a higher degree of resource. And actually, if you were to sparse that out and engage a slightly higher tier of venue, less frequent, than a lower, what's appreciated as tier venue, more frequent, you actually might be more economical. So he said that a lot of life and lifestyle, it's a matter of what you're willing to attempt and try, and more so than a limitation within the resources in itself. But your businesses that are really going to be running away and really getting over on on their customers and on life, so to speak, and really profiting would be businesses that engage with a low level of a cheap product and a cheap price, but proliferate and actually, so they're shaking. If you remember the movie uh, uh, um, uh, um, uh, uh, Robin Hood, the animated series, there's one point where the sheriff working on behalf of the state, the king, is shaking down an actual friar and knocking and shaking out the last penny, like the last shilling that he had hidden under his pillow for a good time, for a rainy day for another person. He had been concealing the last a dime he had, or dollar, or I think it would be Occam collar back then, according to Tashri Bey, or just shilling that he had. And so, but a sheriff that is a money collector, that is working on behalf of a state, and is really about their job. They can sniff out damn near anything that can be called money, and they don't have make bones about shaking someone down for it. So your greatest, strongest, profitable businesses are somewhat similar, whether justly or not, in that they shake out the resources from those close to subsistence at the bottom, and that's the strongest profit. It might be similar with things like music and entertainment, where the greatest profit margins would be from actually the people with the lowest resources and standing. You think a lot of music is actually aimed and engineered towards very young people, like even some of your heavier themes of like different genres going back to at least the 90s, if not way back. The actual music that has some of the heaviest subject matter, the most adult subject matter, is actually in somewhat problematic in terms of what it can inspire a person to do, is aimed at your young people who are vulnerable and also weaker economically. But that would actually be your strongest profit margin, because they have a lower overhead, and therefore more expendable resources, which would actually account for why they may have been targeted. But so they're actually the most at the subsistence, but that's where your profit is. But then you have other stuff where you might have like an act that's been around for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and they have like a niche audience, a following that's very niche. Their content might be appreciated as niche, but they also have a loyal fan base that is specifically engaged and interested in them, that would follow them over a lifetime and support them over a lifetime. That would be niche. And also, you might have something like, say, high-end wine, or high-end cigars, or high-end products, where it might be a lower amount of clientele, but it's a significant engagement and high investment. So I would say that some of the comments that I've gotten in the video, I haven't got a lot of comments on the videos, but all of them have been either a challenge that's valuable, or a degree of an engagement and appreciation that's significant, that would say that it is landing and impacting for someone and benefiting someone. The Order Osho has said that your true poets are actually some of the greatest failures in loving. Would be some of your most romantic poets are actually the greatest of failures in loving. And then because like they do all this fancy stuff, but actually your real lovers are the people who can simply get onto it. Would be your truest greatest lovers, and they might not have time to do the romantic stuff. But then it might be similar, where actually some of your greatest musicians, artists, content creators, whatnot, are actually the worst people and the worst at living, but they actually have the greatest content from that standpoint. So I want to say that but also he said that a real poet is or a real composer is grateful to be received, because there's some things about the life of a man or male, not necessarily anatomically, but a man or male, that are difficult to conceive for someone that might be a female, or a woman or female, and the other way also. But some of it is translatable and understandable, but some would be very difficult to grasp if you haven't experienced that. And some of the challenge of being a man or male is that you have so much that you would like to give and share, that you are. It's your nature to share. When you respect a person and you are attracted to a person, not necessarily romantically or sexually, just simply compelled and attracted to a person as a man, you have an instinct to want to give them the best you have. Sometimes I've worked with different people, and I'll just give them a bottle of water. that's actually the most valuable thing I have on my person at that time. Even my license, my CDL, the units in my account, whatnot. The most valuable thing I have is water, and that's what I would feel compelled to share. But it's a lot of times we're not received for the best that we have as male, as composers, as content creators, and whatnot. But it's a very thankful thing when you receive. So I'm thankful for the handful of supporters and subscribers in a high degree, and I want to keep bringing content to that aim, even if it's